Hello and welcome to another edition of Breakfast Club. My name is Joe.
Nope.
My name's David.
And mine's Az.
Ooh, a bit of a pause there from David. Was that deliberate?
Dramatic pause.
I didn't actually pause. I think my internet might have paused me on purpose.
Oh, really? Oh, well.
Yeah, sorry about that.
It foxed me, but luckily, Az and me are consummate professionals and we dealt with it quickly and no one noticed apart from
nobody
me going on about it for the last 2 minutes. So anyway, enough of that. We're going to be talking about teams coming up to the Gameweek 13 deadline. We're a bit earlier than usual, or rather we're the same time. It's just the deadline is later than usual, so we've got a bit more time. So there could be some tweaks still to come. And I know that some of the issues this week, lots of flags, lots of injuries, probably lots of hits, and lots of deliberations over the captaincy. I know I'm not settled, but we'll come to my team a bit later. But let's start with Az's team. So Az, let's have a look. Immediate things spring out there. We've got Richarlison captain, but who have you taken any hits? Who's left? Who's come in?
Well, I've taken what I think probably is the safest hit that you could ever take, because there's no way the players I took out are going to be outscoring the players I brought in. I took out Mendy, who's out for between 10 and 12 weeks, and Obiang, who is West Ham's defensive midfielder.
Okay.
And I brought in Digne and Martial for a hit.
Okay. Now, well, I mean, I can't argue with that. Yeah, you can't go wrong with that.
You hope not.
Your worst case scenario is you'd be about 2 points down or something. But yeah, you've given yourself a really good chance there. I noticed one of the things that's interests me about that is that you have you've gone for a proper 5-man midfield now, because you've got Brooks there. When Bournemouth have a good fixture, obviously Brooks is going to play. So you've got a real choice there in selection. So you've taken advantage of having success, because that's the real point of having success in your front line.
Yes,
is that you just
success is probably on his last legs, to be honest.
Yeah.
My plan is to kind of move into have kind of options all over the pitch. So I'm looking to bring in Jimenez next week. And then I'm really happy with my defence, so I can sort of move between 4 at the back, 5 in midfield, 3 up top, depending on fixtures and things. And it just means I'm quite strong going into Christmas as well.
Yeah, no, that's a good point there as well. I mean, I did think. I've been thinking about, because my version of success is Højbjerg, and for others it will be, I don't know, someone like Stevens at Brighton, who's now suspended for 3 games. And there's all sorts of players like that, and it's basically they have the same role really. You never want to play them, and if they come on, you're going to get a couple of points, or maybe 1, or maybe 3 if you're lucky with a midfielder. But yeah, you just don't want them to come on at all. I've got a bit of money in the bank, and I think that's a sound policy as well, especially if you've got money in the bank to get that success to Jimenez move next week.
No, not quite. Otherwise, I would be tempted to do it this week with Jimenez at home to Huddersfield. I think they're going to win that pretty comfortably. No, I'm looking at getting rid of Salah next week.
Ooh, hello. Okay. I was going to say someone's got to go, but surely it wouldn't be Salah. But,
yeah,
okay.
it's probably good. I mean, he's got a home fixture against Everton. I mean, I was a little bit tempted to sell him this week. I don't think this what his away form is pretty atrocious. I think the Watford game, okay, I'll leave him for that. He did well against Watford last year. We'll see how he does. I think that Everton game is going to be quite tricky. It's the derby. Anything could happen in that. And then he's got 2 away games, plus all the Champions League stuff around that. What I'm hoping is that City sort of crush Leon, is it, in the week?
Yeah.
I think if they win that, they're pretty much, or they are through to the next round. So
I mean,
Salah
they're
to
pretty
Sterling.
much through anyway, really.
Yeah, exactly. So I think I really want Sterling in for that Bournemouth game, and then that gives me a bit of extra money to upgrade success. So
that gives you money. Salah to Sterling.
Yeah,
gives you enough to do success to him. Looking at that, actually, that sounds pretty sensible, because personally, I'm not looking to captain Salah game week 14 when they've got the Merseyside derby. And there's plenty of other really good options that week, aren't there? Obviously, the City lads, Sterling, Aguero, and Hazard as well, home to Fulham. I mean, he's the one I've got my eye on. And you've already got Hazard in. So, do you know what? that does make sense. And
We'll see. I mean, it's this week. I think I'm looking at Salah and I'm thinking, okay, I've got 13 million tied up in him. He's playing Watford, and I'm not even considering captaining him. And it's like, what is the point of spending that much money on him when he's not even in my thinking? So yeah, I've been looking to get rid for quite a while, but he had that Fulham game and the Cardiff game and things, so it just wasn't quite the right time. I think now I'm gonna probably do it next week.
So a couple of other players to mention there. Martial coming in. So, I mean, you're obviously in the in-form camp rather than the overperforming camp. Are you confident that he's going to continue his startling goal conversion?
Yeah, I've made the switch. You were saying on the Scoutcast, weren't you, that you're either, if you've got him, you're saying it's form. If you haven't got him, it's overform. Well, I was thinking he's overform, but now I've transitioned. I just think he's really good. He's a really good price.
It's amazing how he goes
7.6.
into form just by owning him. It's quite incredible, isn't it? He goes from that overperforming.
It's amazing. Not many players like that.
No.
I mean, I just really like the look of United's fixtures. I don't really like the look of United.
I was going to say, you have any United player? What's going on?
I know. I feel like, when you've got a standout player in a team, it doesn't really matter who they're kind of playing for. He's got the form and he's got the fixtures. And yeah, I was a bit annoyed that Sakho's fit. I thought maybe he'd be out because he was taken off against France. And then there was doubts about Tompkins as well. And Wan-Bissaka I was hoping Palace would just put out a really, really patched up defence, which it looks like they're going to be relatively strong. But yeah, I mean, he's the individual brilliance in that United team. There's no one else really who is going to be scoring for them. I don't think.
What do you think of Martial, David? You've not been tempted?
I have been, yeah. We'll get onto my team in a minute, but I was tempted between him because I'm looking at moving on Shaqiri. It was between Martial and Richarlison, who I think I was going to go for. And the thing about Martial is he's obviously got the form, he's got the features too, but he seems to actually have some underlying statistics now, which is nice. Because I was put off him at the beginning because it was a case of, I think his first 3 goals came from just 3 shots or something. And that's normally not something that particularly bodes well for sustainability. But basically, he's had the same number of shots on target last 4 game weeks as Aguero. 12 shots, 8 in the box, 8 on target. It's kind of looking more like a sustainable amount of activity from him now. So I'd like to have him, but for me, it was either him or Richarlison, and Richarlison's a bit more nailed on. So it would depend on people's teams, because obviously, as you already got Richarlison, so if you're looking for someone in the Martial slot, there's not really anyone else who can compete with him.
No, I mean that's the second player I was going to mention there, Richarlison. It's not just owning him. He's very well owned, particularly amongst those in the top 100,000, top 50k, etc. But you've captained him as well. So why captain Richarlison over, say, Aguero or Salah?
Yeah, I think to me the choice was Aguero or Richarlison. I think Aguero is going to be probably the most popular captain this week. His effective ownership is going to be really high. And I mean, one of the reasons because I got Fabianski goal. Yeah. And I'm always a bit reluctant to captain a player when I've got a defender, because you're kind of hedging your bets. I know it's probably not the best way to play the game. I think City are going to win it comfortably, but in my mind, Aguero gets 1 goal, Fabianski makes 9 saves, gets 3 bonus points, and then Richarlison gets a hat trick. And there's a kind of best case scenario there. Whereas if I captain Aguero against Fabianski, then I'm hoping for a hat trick, which means no points for my keeper. So there's a little bit of that in there. But I also just think Everton are really strong at the moment. Their home form is really good. Richarlison is full of confidence, playing up front. Out of position players are a rare thing. And it's, if you've got a chance to captain them in a great fixture like this, then why not? Aguero's got Champions League in the week. His minutes are still being managed. So I mean, Aguero is the safer pick, but I just feel like this week is a decent chance to take a little bit of a punt. There's not going to be many weeks where I can captain Richarlison over Aguero, but I think this week they're both pretty similar. So taking a bit of a punt there.
Yeah, I mean that really worries me. As we discussed this, I discussed it at length really on the Scoutcast. As a non-Richarlison owner, I'm really worried because I do think he's going to do well. I do think he's looked better as the striker. He's learning to be a striker, and the game against Brighton was devastating, really. So I think there's going to be more of that. Cardiff are pretty awful away. Yeah, they put up a good fight against Spurs, for example. They still lost though. So I just think Richarlison, I think he's a great option.
I captained him last year when he played for Watford.
Yeah.
Was that against Stoke?
Uh,
I think I did. I think we realised we did that the same week.
Did we? Yeah, for 1 point.
Yeah, exactly.
Glorious.
When he was top of shots, and Stoke were top of shots conceded. So it was like, match made in heaven, 1 point.
Yeah. It wasn't.
I just
my best moment.
I mean, I can't tell whether it's because I don't own him that I think he's going to score well, and perhaps if I owned him and had the captaincy on him, maybe I'd be worried. I'm not sure, but I'm captaining him in Sky Game. I think there's been a few polls up for the Sky players, some of the top Sky players as well, and it's pretty opinion divided. Aguero, Salah, and Richarlison. I was quite surprised. Richarlison's quite high up alongside those two, but I'm just going to go for him. I own him there. I just think he's a good option for captaincy, and I'm very worried. So you got Dean in Luca Dean, apparently is how you pronounce him.
Is it? Well, we've been saying it wrong for
there was a journalist from, I think he was from a British journalist, been covering Spanish games, and he was on Twitter, put a video up saying, I've always called him Luca Dean, and other people have called him all sorts of things now, so let's ask the man himself. And then suddenly Luca Dean comes over and says, how do I say your name? And said it, and he went, see. And
it sounds more French than what we've been saying, so it's
he
right.
says it French. I can't even do the French accent, but it's but yeah, there's no S.
It's not Lucas Digny then.
No, not Lucas Digny. No. and Doherty isn't Doherty, and so on. But who am I to say?
We're terrible at this.
If we'd have had Neil dropped a great one yesterday, it was Vertonghen or Verdonghen. I think it ended up being. So.
Oh wow! Well, as in the thing that you use, a dongle, right?
It was a dongle. Yes, a dongle. I think. Well, let's go with that. Yeah, I think it's best on safe ground at this time of day to go with the dongle of that. Okay, so let's move on to David's team then. So we don't have to, David. We don't have to say, oh, it's 11:30. What's the team sheets, because we don't know until 2. So we'll
which is great news. It's great news.
So we can move straight on to your team. Okay, so there's a few issues here. You've made some moves already, and you might make another move. So who already has come in or out?
So yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same as with us really. Is I've taken a -4, but I actually feel pretty confident with it because one of them was Mendy, so moving him on was a very easy decision. And I've also got our good friend Lucas Digny. For lots of reasons that we've been talking about him for ages. He's been on my radar since like maybe game week 4, and it's just there's never been an opportunity for me to get him in. And yeah, it just made sense. It kind of allowed me to make some changes elsewhere. The one that I think some people thought was a bit strange was I've now taken Success out and brought him in as image. But I feel better about it now because, as has already said, that he would actually have quite liked to have done that move. Just basically look, Jimenez has scored something like 20-something points since I sold him because it went well to begin because I had him for all those games where he got like 3 assists in a row. He was just ticking over really nicely, and then his underlying statistics took a bit of a hit there. Fixtures went a bit tough, and I sold him. And it was just before they played Brighton, and he didn't do anything. So I thought, great, that's fantastic. And then he's got 18 points against Spurs and Arsenal. And and again, his underlying statistics look great for a guy of his price, and the fixtures for Wolves are great. And I think historically, I probably would have gone, well, no, I've got rid of him now, and I've lost money on him because I sold him at 5.6. I bought him back at 5.8. But seeing a couple of the guys, Mark especially, he had a wildcard squad a couple of months ago where I think he had Hazard and Mitrovic, and then decided to go with Sessegnon and
that was he came on. We did a video. So blame me. I think I might have persuaded him not to.
But it was a case of he basically realised he'd made a bad decision and just went, well, I'll reverse it then because it looks, So I'm really happy that I've got him back because having rid of him just hasn't worked out. And it's a bit of a shame because I've been thinking about what Success allowed me to do, but I just feel that Jimenez is a bit more nailed on. I know that Success looks like it'll probably be all right, but it's just there's kind of a bit more competition for Success's place than there is for Jimenez, and the form Jimenez is in, I just can't see him getting moved about out of that slot. And I basically, so that's -4. I might do a -8 Shaqiri to Richarlison. Again, based off the whole just kind of getting ready for Christmas because, you know, I mean, there's been a lot of talk this week of all the flags and all the big changes people want to make. And I do think that this -4 is the new like 0 this week, and -8 is the new -4 in the sense that just everybody's taking hits. So if there's one week that you can just kind of get away with it, might be this one. And then bringing in Richarlison just gives me a more nailed-on player compared to Shaqiri. The fixtures are much nicer. Don't really want to double up on Liverpool for the games they've got, especially with the Champions League as well. I'm probably going to bench out of it. People probably wouldn't do, but you know, I'd be happy with my squad going into Christmas because I'll always have someone on my bench in the first sub slot who I think will play. So I'm actually pretty happy with what the idea is. The reason I haven't actually done Richarlison yet is this is what I mean about it being so good that we've got a 2 p.m. deadline. I'm just kind of hoping that something pops up about Shaqiri, because if it comes out that he is going to play and Salah is as well, then I think I might hold on to Shaqiri for one more week, because I do fancy him if he does start today to do something, and that just saves me a hit.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've missed out on Richarlison, but as we've sort of maybe we said a little bit off air, if I'm taking a -4 to get Richarlison, I really need him to explode for it to pay off. Yeah. So we'll see, really.
Especially because Richarlison has Liverpool up next away.
Yes, exactly. I'd be benching him next week probably.
If you look at it in a two game move, which it obviously wouldn't be. Obviously, a good time to take Richarlison is after the Liverpool game or now. But definitely don't want to be doing it next week. But yeah, you're right. Say Shaqiri, say worst case scenario, he comes on last 10 minutes, gets 1 point as well. But you're already, and say Richarlison gets maybe 9 points, but you're already 4 points down, and then plus that 1 point. So, you know, yes, you're down on that move, but maybe by 4 points. But maybe Shaqiri gets more than Richarlison next week, and so on. It's just, there's so many permutations to it. But you're right. Once you start getting into hits, you need that player to pay.
It's the problem. It's the problem with bringing in a player like Shaqiri in the first place.
Yes, I was just going to say.
I knew this was going to be a problem for you.
Last time, 2 weeks ago.
Because it just gives you this horrible decision where you know you've got a player who, if he plays, is probably going to do quite well. So you're always a bit reluctant to take him out, but at the same time, there's no guarantee he will play. And then when you've got a player like Richarlison with a really nice fixture like Cardiff, it just becomes a complete lottery, complete 50-50, and I just don't like those types of decisions.
I mean, Richarlison, one thing he has.
I knew you were going to say that.
Richarlison is one of the few nailed-on players. I think every time we think, oh, maybe he'll get rested, maybe he'll get, you know, he never does. He's clearly the favourite. He's the golden boy amongst the management there at Everton. He's a great. Yeah, I'm really worried about not owning him. It's something that on the Meet the Manager video we did this week with Mark Rubenstein, who's financial services expert. He's managed like a 4 billion hedge fund, so 100 million FPL squad's nothing to him. And he's been, you know, one of the things he mentioned there was, he said same in the City and the same with FPL. It's not a question of winning; it's a question of not losing. And it's a Richarlison. Getting Richarlison in is one of those moves. He's really well owned. There's people captaining him. So if you get him in and don't captain him, you're not really winning, but you're definitely not losing. I don't own him. I've got a big chance of losing. So
I hope so. Good to catch you up a bit.
Yeah. I mean that's the way I see it. Is it would be covering a base, but I suppose the other way of looking at it is if you're taking a -8 to do it, are you losing anyway? But again, there's so many ways you can look at it. This is why I'm so to and fro with it. Is part of me goes, well, Shaqiri got me 8 points last week, so he's basically paid for this week's hit.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, that's a good. It's a fair way. Or
there's always a way you can spin it.
Or you've lost your profit. That's the gambler's fallacy, as well.
Yeah.
Or you've lost the money you've won.
Exactly. Or maybe I've reinvested it. You know.
Could have done. Yeah, to keep that financial services going. I just want to see, hot off the press, I completely mispronounced. I pronounced him Doherty. He's not. There's no C. And he's not Doherty either. Anne O'Brien and a variety of other people have pointed out. Now, I'm going to mispronounce this as well, but this is probably a better effort. Doherty. So
really?
Yeah,
they said
D-A-R-H-E-R-T-Y. That just sounds a bit racist.
Doherty.
Kind of sounds like Joe's kind of half-assed trying to do an Irish accent.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Sometimes you get names that just sound like they can only be said in the accent they're designed for.
You mean like the Chelsea goalkeeper, huh?
Yeah. So I mean, So I've said that now. I'm looking. Well, I was going to say I'm looking on the live chat now to see whether I've done that correctly. Dirty.
And they're all saying Joe out.
Have I just called him dirty?
I'd say 15 points a day. That'd be pretty dirty.
Doherty. So I've got the error a bit. So and then he says Chris Fancy has said that's a West Country accent. Well, I do live in the West Country, but I'm not.
Yeah,
from
he was
here.
good. Yeah.
So a bit of it's rubbed off on me. Oh, I've got a variety. Apparently, that's the worst one yet from the FPL General, who is Irish. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to call him Doherty. I've had enough.
I'm going to call him Doherty.
Let's just call him Matt.
Let's just call him Matt.
Matty boy.
Matt, the Doc.
Well, we could just call him Marcus Alonso 2.0.
Darty. Apparently, I should have just said just Darty. Darty. Oh, I don't know. I think they're winding me up.
I think all we're learning from this is that no one's got a clue.
No one's got a clue. And,
I think the people who do have a clue just have a better grasp of their own language than we do.
Yes, and they haven't learned, but they already know, and they've had it cemented that I can't pronounce a whole bunch of names. Just another before we come to my side, Arnautovic on the bench. Now, are we saying now Arnautovic is benchable? Because he clearly is on your team.
I can't believe that you're benching Arnautovic.
Yeah,
cannot believe it.
Yeah, I just for this game, I feel it's the one time I can get away with benching him. So we'll see. But the thing is, there's rumours that Robertson might not play, so maybe I'll be alright.
Yeah,
fingers crossed.
Okay,
big risk. I know it's a big risk, but yeah.
Okay, well, I think that as well. The comments from Klopp yesterday about Robertson did not fill me with confidence.
No.
And Robertson has been benched before, and they do have a really important game coming up midweek in the Champions League. And I think Klopp was along the lines of, Robertson's only just come back. He's had two, exhausting, high intense games for Scotland. It wasn't saying, "Hooray, Robertson's back! I can't wait to play him against Watford." It certainly wasn't that. I'm not saying Robertson's going to be benched, but it would not surprise me.
Yeah, that's the way I see it. I mean, I probably could start Arnautovic because I don't have Man City defence, so I don't have that dilemma. But
I can't remember an international game after an international break where I haven't had to go into my bench once. There was recently I had to go in 3 times. I didn't even have a full bench because of an injury. So I ended up fielding 10, and that can happen. So I'm pretty certain Arnautovic is going to come in for you somewhere. There's going to be a surprise.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay, well let's move on to my team. Yeah, guess what? Arnautovic first on the bench again, and I've got exactly the same issue with Robertson. But see, now what have I done? Who have I taken out? So yeah, I've done the smart move. Mendy out for Luca Dean from Everton. He's a player I've been banging on about it keeps appearing in my scout squad picks, and I just like him. He's got promise and good underlying stats, and he's good, and he frees up some money. Danny Ings has gone. Mark Hughes' comments about him were he might be in consideration for the bench. So that said to me, okay, well that's not good. So he was going to be on my bench. And then they were saying somebody in the knows on Twitter yesterday. I don't know whether I can believe it as much, but they're saying that he did indeed fail a late fitness test, so he's not going to play at all. I don't want Danny Ings after this week anyway. I kept him for this game week, so if he's gone, it's a bit, as you said, David, this is a -4 is the new 0. -8 is a -4, so I've taken a -4, and I've also done that move, Danny Ings to Jimenez. I'll probably mispronounce that. James Nez. So he's come in for me for all the reasons that you've said as well. But the other thing is he's a I don't want to lose move. A couple of weeks ago, I didn't have Arnautovic, I didn't have Jimenez, I didn't have Richarlison. Lots had 2 of those. A hell of a lot of people had 2 of those. Some had 3 of those. The players I had instead of those didn't do much. So I was already going into the Sunday of that week 30 points down, almost all my rivals in my mini leagues, and that wasn't good. So I've done a little bit of housekeeping getting Jimenez in. He's partly a playing the game move. There's a lot of people with him who are rivals in my mini leagues, but plus I haven't just got him because of that. I've got him because of those reasons you mentioned. He's got great underlying stats. He's getting those points. He's getting those points in tough games as well. So I know he's a player I can rely on over Christmas. yeah, everyone's going to miss a game, so he's probably going to miss one game. But over Christmas, he's a great player to have, and he's cheap as well. So he keeps that kind of my price points very similar, and I've got 1.5 in the bank. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, and I think probably I'm hoping to save a transfer finally. And when it comes to game week 15, when Spurs fixtures improve, I can look at. I've got options then. I can use that 1.5 plus perhaps another, and players like Harry Kane, Trippier, they start coming into the reckoning there. I also like Arsenal from game week 16, but I don't know. It's given me options, and I quite like that. So what
he really worries me.
Yeah,
Jimenez not owning him. Like he's
Yeah.
you're worried about Richarlison. I'm worried about him because I know everyone's getting Jimenez in, and there's no reason why you wouldn't. Like 5.9 million, 2 amazing home fixtures coming up. I mean, Wolves are going to destroy Huddersfield today, I reckon. Or is it tomorrow?
Yeah, I think there's a possibility. I think there's a possibility of that, and that's what. But he's one of those players. He's one of those well-owned players amongst my rivals and amongst top players. That if I'm resigned to going to this game week without Richarlison. If I got him in, it would be for a hit, and then I don't want to play Richarlison the following week. I've got Goodmanson in that role. He's got a great fixture against Newcastle. I was talking to Neil in the press conference call. He still flagged Goodmanson, but that was because there was I don't know, there was a slight hesitation they picked up on in Sean Dyke's views about whether he'd be whether he'd definitely start. He didn't say he'd nailed on starter. He just said, he's fit and everything's great. So apparently that's not good enough anymore.
He said that he's expecting him to be fit. Rather than he definitely will be. And we just kind of went down the line of that doesn't sound as clear cut as it could be. So,
I'm an optimist with that, and I just think a game against Newcastle and now David, this is something I'm sure we're going to talk about next week in the Scoutcast a bit more about team weaknesses.
Yeah.
Now Goodmanson, he figured quite highly in some of the articles that you've been writing in terms of matchups. So why should I be happy about Goodmanson this week?
Yeah, no, this I really enjoy writing this little series because I've been wanting to look at it for ages, and it's basically we've been looking at. I went through every team, found out where they were most susceptible to conceding chances. So the 4 categories were left flank, right flank, down the middle, set pieces, and then kind of stacked everything all up on top of each other to work out which players would then have the most beneficial matchups over the next couple of game weeks. And Goodmanson came out of it in the top band with 5 favourable matchups over the next couple of weeks. Because Newcastle this week I think is probably the biggest one because they've conceded more chances from set pieces than anybody else.
Right.
I think it's 65, and it's huge. It's a huge number, something like 8 or 9 more than the second place, which I think is Brighton. Who obviously who then get to play Brighton in a couple of weeks' time as well. So then there's a few teams in there who are susceptible down their right flank. So as a left winger, that's going to benefit him as well. So there were 4 players that came out with the most matchups over the next 6 game weeks, and that was Goodmanson, who you've obviously got, Luca Dean, who we've all got, which is really, really nice, and then it was Holobas and Willian as well. So I'm basically going to be keeping an eye over those 4 particular players over the next 6 game weeks, and I'm hoping that they kind of average, a lot of points across those games. So, we're going to talk about a bit more detail on the Scoutcast.
On the Scoutcast, we'll check back in on that. We'll find out how some of them are done, and because I like this, because this is it's almost like next level stuff, isn't it? It's not just thinking, looking at home in a way.
Smart thinking, right?
Smart thinking. This is smart thinking.
But just worth saying, actually, that in the category of people with 4 beneficial matchups over the next couple of weeks was Raul Jimenez and Mo Salah. Just going to drop that one there.
This is good. All my players. I like this. Keep writing those articles. They're great.
Do, yeah.
The ones, but don't write any that say my players won't do well, even if they won't. Arnautovic is first on my bench. I'm concerned about Robertson. I'm also I'm possibly concerned about some of these others as well. I mean, you never know. Who's going to get benched after an international break. Surprises happen. So, but I also just think Man City is so strong defensively. I think Arnautovic is, I'm going out on a limb here, but I think Arnautovic's ceiling in this match is 6 points. So he's got a similar ceiling as one of the defenders I'm playing. So that's why I'm playing 4 at the back. And I think with Dean, Doherty, whichever you call him, Alonso and
It's
Alonso
Robertson.
Fraser,
2.0.
it's Fraser on Arnautovic, right? Surely that's the debate you guys must be having.
No,
Sort of, no.
Arsenal defence.
I can see that, and I did originally think that, but Arsenal's defence is poor. They've conceded. They're right up there amongst all the rubbish teams in terms of big chances conceded. Bournemouth Arsenal has produced a high number of goals in the past, and Fraser's been doing really well on the international break. He's just getting better and better, like your man Brooks has. Now, I was quite surprised to see Brooks on your bench. So he's your first sub, but you've gone for Arnautovic instead. So you've had the same. So could you?
Can I worry you by saying that Arsenal's weakness is down their left flank?
There we go.
David
Look
Brooks.
at this top level, high end info. This is. Don't get this.
Smart thinking.
Yeah, smart thinking.
It's just the talisman element of Arnautovic. Like he with Bournemouth, the goals could kind of come from if there are a couple of goals, it could be Wilson, it could be Brooks, it could be Fraser, it could be King. I just feel like there's a lot more spread there. Whereas if West Ham manage to score against City, you pretty much guaranteed Arnautovic is going to be involved somehow. I mean, it is. I think if it was between Arnautovic and Fraser, it'd probably be a bit tougher for me. But Brooks just doesn't have the same appeal. He hasn't got any set pieces, hasn't got penalties, hasn't got any. Yeah, I don't know. Between Arnautovic and Brooks, it was pretty easy. But Fraser's got a lot more in his locker, I think. Than
I
Brooks.
think if Mark Noble was, Mark Noble is available for this match. I understand. So he's on penalties. If he wasn't, and Arnautovic was on penalties, that may sway me because of the way Ederson has been performing. In fact, virtually all Man City's goals they conceding is through Ederson just doing something stupid like once in 90 minutes.
He's not really a goalie, is he? He's kind of he's a sweeper.
He's just a sweep. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, he's a goalie and
about
sweeper.
Brooks now. Thanks,
yeah,
guys.
There it is. Okay, so
next level
stuff. So what I'm going to do now is before we wrap up, there's one last issue within my team that I've been talking to lots of people on Twitter about, and it's basically the captaincy: Salah versus Aguero. It's been almost changing on a daily basis. Watford and West Ham defence-wise are broadly very similar, and also kind of history-wise. On their day, they can beat almost anyone. On their day, they can frustrate anyone. On their day, they can absolutely get hammered by anyone. And Salah and Aguero. Now, it's difficult to look at Aguero's away stats because he hasn't had that many games against easy opposition. The only game I can kind of look at is the Cardiff game, in which he did get points, and he could have got a lot more. In fact, he should have done really. He had really high. I think it was 6 shots and 5 on target, something like that game. And in the end, what it's come down to for me is Champions League the following week, in midweek. And now Man City are pretty much guaranteed to go through. And also they've been playing Jesus instead of Aguero midweek in the Champions League. Aguero has had a lovely break. I can't see him being rested in any way. It's against Lyon, who, no disrespect to Lyon, and it isn't one of my Cardiff rants, because Lyon are good. They're not PSG kind of level. So that's what I think. I think Salah. I don't think Salah's going to be rested. I know the Guardian's team sheet had Salah being rested, but
they also had Sturridge. They had Sturridge in there twice. Didn't they?
So they had two Sturridges, and also this is the newspaper that brought you Aguero will be benched against.
Well, Aguero might be benched.
Yeah, might be benched in that game where he's about to get a record-breaking score. So yeah, I'm not of the school of thought think Salah, but I do think that Liverpool in general will be prioritising the midweek game. I think there's a possibility Salah will come off early. I think there's a possibility that one of Mane, Firmino won't play. I just think their head will be much more focused on midweek. Whereas Man City, they can just go into every game thinking, we're the most attacking side. So that's my spiel. So I mean, we're gonna run over slightly on this one, but I think if we didn't discuss the Salah v Aguero, people go, oh, why didn't you? And also, I'm going to put Sterling into that mix as well, because I'm always accused of not mentioning Sterling. But when I say Aguero, I kind of mean Sterling as well. I just basically mean a Man City attacker. So yeah, as first, who do you reckon? You seem to be erring towards Aguero if you were to make that choice earlier, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I'd definitely go for Aguero. I mean, I think one good thing about the Salah is I think the Egyptian friendly get called off or something.
Yeah, he only played one game.
Yeah,
one
so
game.
he played
Yes,
one
yeah. Oh, yeah, he'll be rested. I really don't think he'll be benched at all. But
Yeah, I think even a straight. If I had to choose one of them, I'd go for Aguero. I mean, Salah's away. I think he's got one away goal all season in the league. And it's the bonus thing. It's the fact Liverpool aren't really clicking that well attacking wise.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool just won that game 1-0, whereas City could win. They could win 3, 4, 5. You just don't know. I think if you're talking about ceilings, I think Aguero in this game has got a much higher ceiling than Salah, and they're both about the same floor. So I think Aguero is quite an easy choice if you're picking.
Yeah. I mean, that's what. I mean, ownership comes into it. Once again, you have to play the game. I mean, looking at the ownership, it's something like, is it 54% Aguero and Salah's 36%. So if Aguero is really well captained, you're getting to the effective ownership above 100% mark, where you don't actually get any points from him or any ranking boost if you don't captain him. So you have to look at those things, I think, sometimes. And if in doubt, you've got to just play the game and go, look, that's my thought. David, what do you think? You're sort of on Salah at the moment if you didn't get Richarlison. Why?
Yeah, I'm going to present the other side of the argument, in that I know Aguero's away fixtures have been tough, but he has statistically basically been almost literally half the player he is at home. So when you look at him last 4 game weeks, for example, it's kind of, he's played 3 of those games were at home, so it doesn't really give you a clear picture. So he's had 38 shots at home this season and 16 away. He's had 29 shots in the box at home this season, 12 away. 12 shots on target, 7 away. So I know it's West Ham, and I know that they could get hammered, but West Ham seem to be a team that have really upped their game in the big matches. And in the last 4 game weeks, their defence has looked better than I expected. Whereas Salah seems a bit more reliable home or away. So he's had the exact same number of shots home and away, 24 in either case. 18 shots in the box, 15 away, home versus away. And then he's a little bit less accurate away. So it's 12 shots on target at home, 7 away. So that's perhaps maybe the key. But actually, compared to the whole league, there's only one player who's had more shots than him away from home. There's only one player who's had more shots in a box away from him, shots in the box away from home as well than him. And I fancy him. I mean, he might only get 1 goal, but I think that's what Salah always offers, is just that 1 goal. And it feels a little bit more reliable to me than with Aguero, because Aguero away from home he's not the same animal that he is at home.
Yeah. I mean, that was my original thinking. That was my original thinking. And I think with Salah, you see, if I think he's going to score, then I think his ceiling is 7 to 8 points, because he's not going to get bonus. But if I think he's going to score twice, then suddenly he can move up to a couple of bonus. And of course, he gets those extra points as a midfielder for clean sheets, and obviously for getting a goal as well. So it is something I change almost daily, and I've been considering. I may even still make that move, although after this finishes, I've got to go to the Glastonbury Frost Fair, which is like any other normal market town's fair, but full of druids and witches and stones and weird stuff. So I don't think I'm going to get a chance to make a change. So I'm going to stick with whoever I go when I leave the door. That will be, I don't know, but yeah, I think both of you put forward a good case.
I think that's why Richarlison's so popular, is that there is actually a really strong case against both Salah and Aguero. That's the problem.
If I had Richarlison, I would captain him, and I'd even be tempted if I had Martial to captain him as well, because I'm not confident about either Salah or Aguero. So when you're not confident,
Martial's my vice because for that reason. Martial was. If I think if Tompkins or Saka had been out, I think I probably would have gone for Martial.
Okay.
I would have probably done that with my transfer as well. I was thinking about it, and then when I saw that Tompkins and Saka would probably play, then I figured that was one of the reasons why I think I'm going to go for Richarlison instead.
Okay, there's some heavy crackling, which is probably a good sign to tell us to move on. What is that? Oh, finished now. It's probably a good sign to tell us to move on. We've been having, we've actually gone about 10 minutes over what we should have done, but I thought it was important to get that captaincy chat in. For now, good luck, David. Good luck, Az. Good luck with the game week, and see you soon. Definitely see you on the Scoutcast. We'll be talking more about team frailties and how to exploit them. Good night.
Good afternoon.
No, good afternoon even. We'll say good afternoon.
Good morning.
Oh yeah, I've got that wrong as well. Never mind. There we go. Well, good day to you.
That's good, Day. So, okay, well, I'll do that again then. I can't edit it out, so I won't bother. So I'll just say goodbye.